It's Coach Jay. Want to talk about the fight that happened between Fury and Wilder. Overall, you got to tip your hat to both guys. They came in, both did, a unique thing to their particular styles and really implemented it. Fury boxed well. Um, Wilder came forward, missed a lot, but he got the knockdowns that you expect him to have, and he did that. But um, the point of this video is to say that defense matters. And when we look at boxing matches, we can't just judge it on punches alone. There's a thing called ring generalship. And when a person is making another fighter throw everything they have and miss, that is a tactic unto itself that has to be considered when you score a fight. And you can't just give consideration to the guy punching only. It's the guy who's making another guy miss and then throwing punches back in return. And I think that was a sorely missed component of the fight when it comes to the judging. Because in order to give any kind of credit to Wilder, you have to completely ignore the fact that he missed. You looked at two knockdowns and thought that that can win an entire fight of 36 minutes of action. That is a completely false way of thinking, to give Wilder that many rounds, besides two knockdowns. You can probably argue one of the earlier rounds that the fact that Fury didn't do enough to win the round on punches, but again, he made him miss. So making a guy throw punches and miss has to be accounted for, you know. Even if you threw very little in return, the fact that he threw, power punches in a majority of the cases and missed quite a bit has to be considered. So you have, those are big things that I saw. I don't judge scores. I don't judge fights based on scoring rounds and things of that nature. You know, I'm a, coach, a boxer, and, my method is looking at round by round and seeing who's doing more, who's effectively winning, doing something that is countering or coming forward or being aggressive, and who's doing it better. Because you can't expect two guys to fight the same way to judge a fight, in a manner that is going to give them one advantage. You have to look at every side of the coin, and I think that's the challenge for most judges. So you got to give, where credit is due for judges who do get it right. Is that it's a subjective sport, because what do you value in a fight, right? Are you a defensive minded judge who likes to look at people miss, and think that those are the ways to win? Or do you think that person coming forward is always at a advantage when it comes to scoring because they're the ones dictating pace when it comes to a fight, and it's not posing a boring fight per se when you got two guys just trying to avoid each other. So that makes it a challenge. So what I would say is that, listen, these guys fought their heart out. You got to tip your hat to them. There's no losers in this fight, right? They both have more they could have done to win, right? If Fury had just a little bit more pop on his punches, maybe some of those rounds would be even clearer wins for him, and maybe the judges who gave Wilder any kind of rounds would have easily been able to score it for Fury instead. So that could have been the case. And with Wilder, I mean, he really didn't try to set up any of his punches. I feel like, listen, Wilder has a game unique to himself. He knows what kind of, one trick pony he is. And at this point, it's been working for him, right? But now you're fighting the top level competition, and these things are going to be exposed. Any weakness you have against top level opposition is going to be exposed. That's just the way it works, right? So I think this is where you have to pull out tricks in your bag and try to use things that maybe you haven't been able to show, or things that you haven't shown yet that you've developed in between fights to try to beat new competition. If he just implemented a jab, just in the right manner, I think that would have made all the difference. What I did see that I liked from Wilder is that he jabbed to the body. The jabs to the body were, a way to counteract the head movement. You know, when a person is moving their head, oftentimes they're still standing in one spot. So once you miss the head, if you go straight down to the body or start in the body in the first place, it's not as easy for them to get out the way as when they're head and they're ducking and slipping. They'll make you just do all that and stand in one spot more often than not. Their feet are not taking them into a new spot into the ring. So that's a good way to keep a guy honest, right? So I think, and what I was surprised about is the corner. I love Mark Breland. I watched a lot of his amateur fights on MSG channel, and seeing some of his amateur work back in the day. Great, he has the right trainer's mentality of that cool, calm, collected. But I think in a point where you get into the middle rounds and your fighter's not doing what you expect him to do or winning the fight, there has to be a certain amount of fire under you as a coach, or some sort of tactical advice that you have to impart onto your fighter, because he at that point he just continued to say very little, and maybe we couldn't hear him because he's a soft-spoken guy, but offered nothing of real value in the corner to really try to get Wilder to do something different, and left it really into Wilder's hands, who we already know is a little rough with the strict boxing tactics and techniques, to go and try to fight a guy who's been dodging all his punches all night long. And that's a huge time frame to lose your fans, to lose the fight, to lose future opportunities had he not knocked him down 2 times. So it was really Wilder all by himself who kind of sort of saved his moment, because this was a big moment for him, fighting in LA, fighting a name like Fury, and wanting to show that you're a top heavyweight. Without those 2 knockdowns, not only do you lose the fight easily, but you also probably lose your place in boxing at this moment as, the American heavyweight to watch, and those knockdowns show that, yes, you are still that fearless puncher. But what if that didn't happen? What was there? What other tactics was there to offer? What other, no other things were us to see as fans to keep us watching next time? We knew that you weren't the greatest boxer from the very beginning, but now you had nothing else. You didn't even, if you had not knocked him down twice, what else was there to look at? And I think those questions have to be answered in the gym. Things have to be worked on. You have to be implemented. And then, if these things are things that already been worked on, you got to have the discipline to impart those things while you're fighting, because luckily Fury was not throwing with a lot of power. He was probably throwing enough to keep you honest and, score points. But he wasn't hitting you with a lot of heat. So, fortunate enough, you will still be able to just stalk him down and walk him down. But, we're talking about a guy who's 6'9", 260 pounds, who, if that was another guy with that size, would have just, wouldn't been able to knock you out as easily as he was able to hit you. So that's what I took away from what Wilder's point of view. From Fury, I feel like, listen, he looked good movement wise. I feel like he could even be in better shape. And then I feel like he's going to give a lot of guys problems. I would say that maybe hit the weight room a little bit harder. Really have some pop on those punches, with your size and the weight. If you can hit somebody as easily as you can box, it makes a big difference. Guys are gonna go down, they're gonna run from you, they're not even gonna want to fight you. So I think overall, like I said, it was a great fight. I think tip your hat to both guys. I think a rematch definitely is in order, but I wouldn't be mad if either one of them went and go and fought Anthony Joshua. I think it's time to make that happen, and I think it's going to be very compelling to see this triangle of heavyweight division and what could be offered. And there's still not a lot of other players that still are on the table for whoever might want to be, fighting, Ortiz. And then Parker's still out there. You got, you know, the other guy from the UK. I can't think of his name right now, but he had a win over Parker. So you have some compelling matchups, and I think the heavyweight division is one to watch right now. So should be interesting. Coach J out. Peace.